Hello and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to review a nonfiction book, which is pretty unusual for me to do. I read mostly mystery thrillers, psychological thrillers, Amish fiction, Amish mystery thrillers, some romance, historical fiction, but I don't read a lot of nonfiction. But in this case, this review for this video is for a nonfiction book. Look forward to an upcoming video with this book dealing with feeling. And let's see, this book comes out, not quite sure when it comes out, but I did want to tell you that there is a first book, and I have that from my library, so I will pop it up on the screen so that you know what the two books are. So I just leave it at that. So that's one thing I'm doing. The other thing is, an author contacted me named Jeff Goddesfeld, and he asked me to review a book. And I didn't know when I was going to get to it. It doesn't come out until I think September 1st or September 9th. But I've already made that video for this channel, so I thought I would make this video for this channel because it's something that has benefited me and changed my life for the better for a number of reasons. And what we're going to discuss is a book called The Ozempic Revolution. And I read this book. It's by Dr. Alexandra Soa. I think it's Soa. And I read this book because it came up in my NetGalley queue. NetGalley is the location of the place where I get most of my review copies from. But in some cases, the review copies come to me by means of email, such as when I was offered this book or when I was offered Jeff Goddesfeld's book. But like I said, in the case of this book for this video, I got this from NetGalley. Now, I do want to talk about how I read the book, how I thought I could benefit from the book, what has the GLP-1 medication done for me, and why make a video now when I read this book last December. Okay, now the book is called The Ozempic Revolution, but if you look at the blurb, it talks about other drugs such as Ozempic quite naturally, but Wegovy, Zepbound, Mounjaro, all the other GLP-1 medications, originally designed to treat diabetes. I am pre-diabetic, have been pre-diabetic for a long time, but I skated over to the other side of being diabetic for quite some time, and now I'm kind of coming back to this side of being diabetic. So it's a very slippery slope for me. It's not my diet. I'm not big on carbs. I certainly don't like sweets. I don't have this weight problem because of being somebody who's always like, I gotta get more. No, I always eat very small amounts and have been for years. In fact, I was going through my Google Photos and I found a photo of a family event that I had about maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And in that family photo, that was pretty much my heavy weight. It was that night that I got very sick with something that would later be diagnosed as an esophageal stricture. From that night, when I had that photo, because I had to go into the hospital, until now, I've had maybe 16 surgical procedures to stretch my esophagus. So because I have a problem with this stricture in my esophagus, I eat very small amounts of food because it's not that I get full, it's that the food gets blocked. And once it sits there for an hour and a half, sometimes even 2 hours, depending on what it is. So my weight gain wasn't because I couldn't stop eating. It was because I lead a sedentary lifestyle. Granted, I'm sitting here in this recliner right now, but quite a bit of my time is spent in bed. So I got this book, and I want to just check NetGalley, and I am going to be using my tablet. And I do want to tell you that I had eye surgery and I can't see very well, so anything I do, you're going to see me very close to my tablet. But I am going to play a little game with myself to see when I got this book, and there's a reason that I want to know this. So in order to find out when I got the book, I just have to turn it sideways. I received this book March of 2025. No, I'm sorry. No, that's not when I downloaded it. Let's go look at when I downloaded it. I'm sorry. The book archived in March of 2025. I got it in November of 2024. Why was it important for me to just check really quickly as to why I got and when I got the book? Well, September of 2024, I started on Wegovy. I didn't do a lot of research. In fact, I did like very itsy bitty little bit of research only because I knew one of my sisters was going on Mounjaro around that time. But I had just had my yearly physical with my new primary doctor. The practice that I was with for over 30 years, Compass Medical, shut down suddenly, so all of us patients had to get new providers. My new provider, Dr. Lee, could not get my my A1C to stay on the right side, on the good side of diabetes, making me pre-diabetic, affecting my eyes, affecting the glaucoma, affecting my vision, affecting other things in my life. So she offered me the weight loss medication. So I got the medication. I went on it in September of 2024. It has been about 10 months, almost 9 months, and I have lost 90 pounds, so that's averaging 10 pounds a month. My goal is just to lose 10 more pounds. That's it. I'm on a maintenance dose. I like the dose that I'm on now because I've been on a maintenance dose for maybe 5 months now, and I'm losing about 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds every couple of weeks. My problem is partial because, part of the reason that I'm losing weight and then I don't lose weight and I lose weight and I don't lose weight is I also have edema because of congestive heart failure. So if I get swelling in my legs and feet, quite naturally my weight goes up. And then if I rest and elevate my feet or wear compression socks, then my weight will drop down by 1 pound or 1.5 pounds. It's just really weird. But for me, I think if you saw me in that family photo, and if you saw me maybe last year, which was, I'd say last April, and then if you see me now, you'll see that, yeah, I have lost this 90 pounds. And that's why when the book came up on NetGalley, somewhere around November of 2024, I'm like, oh, well, I'm not on Ozempic, but I know that's a GLP-1 medication, and I'm on a GLP-1 medication. Let me go ahead and download this book, and that's exactly what I did. So I reviewed it. I read it in December, and I reviewed it in January. The review went live on my blog January 6th. I'm sorry, I think I blocked the camera light for just a second. And I thought, let me tell you my review based on when I read this back in January, especially since I'm near the personal goal where I'd like to be weight-wise. Can you see that I keep fixing my gown? Everything is falling off of me. I bought a lot of clothes on Shein, but I just have to stop buying clothes until I get to whatever the maintenance weight loss will be for me, and then I'll know my correct size and stop buying things that are, yeah. Anyway, so let's first talk about Dr. Soa. Dr. Soa is someone who studied the GLP-1 medications mostly for diabetics, but also for people with obesity, morbid obesity, for over 10 years. And she did extensive studies. In fact, I now that I decided to review this book on this channel, I think I want to get the hard copy of it because I do still have the digital version. But if you look at the appendix and you look at the back, you see this wide range of studies that Dr. Soa did in order to put this book together. But this is her experience on how she treats her patients. I'm going to review the book on this channel by means of my written review and then factor in where I have come in those 8 months from when I read the book last December. So the first thing I wrote in my review is, I am one of those people who's obese. Plainly said, I am considered obese. Morbidly obese is not so much my categorization any longer, but I'm still definitely obese and will probably be, according to medical terms, obese for the rest of my life. Well, when I did the research, I read that 43% of the United States population is obese. 43%. So that means that the judgment and the critical nature that people have towards people who have a weight issue shouldn't be there, because almost half the population deals with it one way or another. I just thought that was interesting. And then so I did a direct quote from the book, and I'm going to read that quote that Dr. Soa said. And by the way, she's an internist, and this is why I got the book. My new primary doctor is also an internist. So when I looked at the NetGalley description of the book and saw that Dr. Soa is an internist, and I have an internist that's treating me, that's providing me with this medication, that sees me every couple of months, that's really watching me on this, yeah, I felt comfortable with that. But she says, any new concept that some might perceive as unconventional often raises eyebrows and prompts skepticism. In this case, the title of the book, The Ozempic Revolution, piques curiosity and raises questions about the effectiveness of weight loss medications such as Wegovy, Ozempic, Mounjaro, and Zepbound. So, yeah, there's a lot of criticism, there's a lot of skepticism. But what I thought would help me was to use her book as a guide. And in actuality, it is a guide to those, for those who want to use, or their doctors prescribe this weight loss medication in whatever form it is. Like I said, Wegovy, Ozempic, Zepbound, Mounjaro. I know there's 2 or 3 more. Well, I was eager to see how it would help to educate me, because by the time I got the book, I had been on it. I was going on it for my 3rd month. But let me read the long title of the book. The Ozempic Revolution, a doctor's proven plan for success to help you to reverse obesity and yo-yo dieting and protect yourself from disease. That's the long title. The short title simply is The Ozempic Revolution. So by glancing at that title, I knew that this book would hit the spot for me. I knew it. There was no doubt that it would be something that I could glean. And I'm a person who gleans. That's why when this book, Dealing with Feeling, came up, I agreed to read it and review it. Here's the letter. Because I deal with psych issues. So in this case, with dealing with weight issues, and the fact that it was a book that could help to reverse my obesity, yes, I was interested in reading this book. Now, the book itself begins by discussing the nature of obesity, the prevalence of its impact on the population, the ineffectiveness of yo-yo dieting, and the potential benefits of weight loss. Those are the areas in which the book delves into. And then also I wanted to mention that the book is divided into 4 sections. The science, the So-Well method for sustainable success, your GLP-1 life, and recipes in dining out. So those 4 sections are how this book is designed. So let's start off with question number 1. What is the science behind a GLP-1? What is a GLP-1 medication? Well, let's find out what GLP-1 is. GLP-1 is glucagon-like peptide. It's a hormone that's produced by your small intestine. It plays several crucial roles, including triggering insulin release from your pancreas. Insulin is essential for converting food into energy and regulating blood glucose levels. That's what a GLP-1 is in our body. GLP-1 medications are to help turn that switch in your brain to change that insulin release that creates this issue where people are gaining weight. And weight gain begins at a young age. Weight gain can start at a middle age. Weight gain can start when you're older. It can be something that you deal with your whole life. Well, in this book, not my personal experience, but in this book, Dr. Soa emphasizes the significance of GLP-1 agonist drugs. That was a new term for me. A GLP-1 agonist drug? Okay. What are those? Again, Ozempic, Wegovy, Manjaro, Zepbound. She highlights in this book the potency, the transformative impact, and the life-saving potential for patients. Now, remember I said earlier on that it's a statistical fact that 43% of the United States population is considered obese? Well, even so, people like myself face shame and discrimination due to their weight. I had a very, very personal experience with this, and this is what personally made me agree to go on this medication. One was, I had mentioned that I have an esophageal stricture. I've had well over a dozen, maybe closer to 2 dozen surgical procedures. I've got another one in a couple of months. It's just a revolving door of opening, whatever. Well, I go in for my procedure. And this doctor that's doing this procedure, this might have been his 4th or 5th time doing it. The first 10 or 12 procedures were done by a different doctor who went to a different practice, so I needed a new gastroenterologist. I had no problem with him. First time was due to an emergency visit to the hospital, and it was an emergency procedure. And this would have been, say, procedure number 11, but at that time I was dealing with a very serious case. And then after that, I had a few more procedures that he performed. Well, on my most recent surgery, I'm going to read to you what I wrote back in January of 2025. My gastroenterologist shamed me to the point where I never wanted to see him again. He equated my esophageal stricture with my weight issues, which really upset and confused me. Now, I've had well over a dozen procedures to stretch my esophagus and was never told that this issue is caused by my weight. Now, before I go on to my second example, I just want to stress this. The doctor was sitting, the nurses had come and put the IV in. I had already spoken to the anesthesiologist to, questions about does any anesthesia affect me, this, that, and the other. I had already been giving me something to help me to relax because of the anxiety of going to sleep and going into the OR. And now the last step before I get wheeled into the OR is for the doctor to come and talk to me to make sure that I really want this done. Okay, I've had dozens and dozens of surgeries, not a problem. So he's standing on my right. He leans on the bar, the bar to protect you from falling off. And he says, Robin, if you weren't so fat, I wouldn't be doing this procedure on you. I never saw Dr. Sampson again. I didn't even go in for a post-op visit. I was done. I now have a new gastroenterologist. I've had more procedures done, and I'm not getting that shame. Then I had another issue. I have had many back surgeries, 6 in fact. When it was getting time for back surgery number 6, it was delayed and delayed and delayed with good reason. The reason it was delayed is because I have so much scar tissue on my, in my scar area, on my spine and inside, that the doctor did not want to go through that scar. So they wanted to go in laterally through my side. To go in laterally, with me being at that time well over 300 pounds, it couldn't happen. So I dealt with severe back pain until I could get some of the weight off. That weight didn't start to come off until I went on the Wegovy. Now, this doctor that I thought was going to bring an end to my back pain, I am again in the same situation I was with the gastroenterologist, but this time it's with the ophthalmologist. Okay. My watch just went off. I got to get my cornbread out of the oven, so I want to get the start out. The back surgeon said to me, standing on my right, just like the gastroenterologist was, just as I was beginning to fully relax from the medication through the IV, because this was going to be a serious hours-long surgery, so the medication was a little bit more intense than it was when they were going to the esophagus. He says, you know, if you didn't weigh this much, I wouldn't be doing this surgery. I'm done with him too. Why? Because I have emotional issues. I have psych issues. And you cannot attack my self-esteem when I'm in a vulnerable state of being put to sleep. And this happened to me twice in 6 months. First with the gastro and then with the back doctor. And for the life of me, I can't say what it is. But I've got to go get my cornbread out of the oven, and I'll come back and complete this video. Okay, I don't eat a lot, not just because of the Wegovy, but because of my esophagus. And nonetheless, I still cook for my guys. My guys are my husband and my 2 sons that live with us, or our 2 sons. So I've got something in the Instant Pot, and I did just go pull my cornbread out. But back to my review. Now, because I had those 2 experiences with the 2 doctors, the 2 specialists that I had put a lot of hope in, because this back surgeon that did my back surgery, this was at least the 4th time he did it, so he wasn't new to me. The gastroenterologist who stretched my esophagus, he wasn't new to me. He had done the procedure 4 or 5 times. But both of them shamed me, weight shamed me, and that really got to me. So when I read this book back in December from January, when I read the book, I had been on the Wegovy for 5 months. And at that point, I had lost 45 pounds, which is averaging, I think, 1.5 pounds a week. I see I have I thought I had a mistake, but it's not a mistake. My average weight loss at that time was monthly for 9 pounds, average of 1 to 1.5 pounds a week. That has continued now. And as I mentioned earlier, that I've lost 90 pounds. So I'm averaging 10 pounds a month. So therefore, my weight loss average has stayed the same from December until now. Now, what Dr. Solar does is she, as well as my doctor, works with patients in kindness and in consideration and in compassion to help people to deal with weight loss issues. Now, my doctor is a diminutive, very small stature woman, can't weigh more than 90 to 100 pounds, a teeny little woman, 5 feet tall, the most beautiful soul you'll ever meet. I don't know, I say that about everybody. I have an 80-year-old friend who I consider to be the most beautiful souled person on the planet. But this doctor is beautiful in spirit, okay? So she didn't just put me on the Wegovy. She checks all of my numbers. She checks my potassium, my magnesium, my cholesterol. I have hypothyroidism. She's keeping an eye on my thyroid, and I'm anemic sometimes. So she just checks all of that. And it's not just checked once a year when I go in for a physical. In fact, I have blood work done 2 to 3 times a year. And this was even before I went on the Wegovy. That's how it is with her. Now, when I started the weight loss medication, I thought, why not? Because 15 years ago, I did have gastric bypass surgery. 15 years ago, I did lose 60 pounds. Quickly, boom, boom, boom. It came right off. I looked great. I looked gaunt, but I looked great. But over the course of the last 15 years, that weight slowly came back up. I contributed to my sedentary lifestyle. I can't help but to have a sedentary lifestyle. I have severe back issues. I mentioned I've had 6 back surgeries. In fact, I go see a surgeon, I think August 8th, I have another appointment with the surgeon. I just had MRIs and CAT scans and x-rays because things aren't well in the back area. The curvature of my spine has increased since I've had the back surgery. So things aren't well. So yeah, I've got back issues. I've got problems with my knees. I've had both of my knees replaced, but I've had my right knee replaced twice. I have a gait problem because I don't know where my brain is for medical terms, but it's when your balance is off. I have that. Because of that, I fall. In fact, I have got so many black and blue marks, it looks like somebody was attacking me because of my last fall. I think it was like last Thursday. Okay? So, walking, even though I live in a nice area, you'll never hear sirens, and if you do, you hear them maybe once a month or once every other month. You'll never hear yelling, arguing. It's a nice area. It's not safe for me to walk unless I take my walker. If I want to go on my own, I can't go on my own because I can't carry the walker down the stairs. So it's a thing. It's a thing. So I've developed a sedentary lifestyle. My son says, "Ma, I'll walk with you. You know, you don't have to walk by yourself." But no, he hasn't yet. He's too busy playing his video games. But I'm not completely sedentary anymore because my grandkids come over all the time. Some of them. I've got to get my girls over. But I got my grandsons over, I've got my little granddaughter coming over, and these kids, you are up and down, making them something to eat, getting up to play a game, playing a game, laughing, releasing those beautiful endorphins in our body. I mean, I had so much fun just yesterday with two of my grandsons. They're both 12, they're stepbrothers, and they're 12 years old. And they wanted to come see Nana. And we played Uno, and we laughed, and we laughed, and we laughed. That's the no longer sedentary lifestyle. I've been swimming. Although I can't swim anymore this summer, not only did I have this eye done, and this one is coming up in 2 weeks, but I have a heart monitor on, so no more swimming. But I've been swimming. I took walks on the beach. I've been busy. But while I'm busy, I'm also on this maintenance dose of the Wegovy. I personally feel that once I get to my goal of losing 10 more pounds, if the maintenance dose continues to bring my weight lower than that 10-pound personal goal that I have set, then I will just either drop back from once a week to twice a month. Even once a month, and then eventually not being on it at all. I do not plan to be on Wegovy for the rest of my life. That's not the intent. But for now, it's helping. And when I had mentioned about being pre-diabetic or diabetic, there's no doubt that my weight contributed a lot to my back problems. Even though my back problems are caused by osteoarthritis, all that excess weight on my back and my knees was not good. But now, even though I've lost the weight, vertigo, there's the word that was just floating in the air and wouldn't come down to my brain. Yes, I have vertigo, so I fall. Okay, sorry. So with all that said and done, I am so glad I read that book. And I'm so glad that I get to reread my review. And what I'd like to do is shut the camera off. I want to check a couple other reviews because the book's been out for not quite a year, but it's been out for a little while. So I'm going to just shut the camera off, check a couple of reviews, and come back and finish up this review. Wow, very interesting what I found. Now, as a book reviewer, since that is my niche, my livelihood, I tend not to read other reviews because I write so many reviews. I need to write from up here, not from somebody else's head, somebody else's words, somebody else's thoughts or feelings. So I tend not to read other reviews other than my own, to check for typographical or grammatical errors or errors of that nature. But it's quite interesting to look at Goodreads to see what other people thought about Dr. Soa's book. So this person, her name is January. She reviewed this book back in February. And I like the way that she approached the book. I approached the book from a personal standpoint because of me needing to lose weight, mainly due to my diabetes diagnosis, but other reasons, my heart disease, my bone disease with osteoarthritis, orthopedic issues regarding my knees. There was a lot of reasons that I needed to lose weight. But I like how she talked about PCOS. Am I saying that? PCOS? It's polycystic ovary syndrome. She taught her view is how she was affected by PCOS and why the book could benefit those who suffer from that. I thought that was very interesting. She went 5 stars. And I like one thing she says. She says, page 3 of 238, chapter 1 is why try harder is terrible medical advice. Okay? Now, you can't tell somebody to stop eating too many or watch your carbs or do this, that, and the other and just say, well, okay, you're not listening to good advice, so therefore you're going to be overweight. It doesn't work like that. I'm sorry. At least not for me and not for this reviewer. Let's check out another review. This is from someone named Julie, and she reviewed the book back in April. And she said that she went into this book with those uninformed prejudices that people have towards people who have weight issues. So when she went into that book, she went into it from that point of view. But then she also went into it as a Reddit person who's just reading a lot of, I don't remember what the Reddit threads are called. But she said she was hooked on that, and she was finding all these different opinions on diet culture, on weight loss. Very interesting, very interesting, very interesting. Now, this person here, Maya, back in March, she wanted to read and review this book because she herself has weight loss issues. So that's it. I'm not going to just scroll down hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of reviews. Whoops, I went out of it. I could scroll down if I went to more reviews and ratings on Goodreads. You can see can you see that? Maybe I'll put it, okay, there we go. You can see what people thought of the book, mostly 5 stars, some 4 stars, and a few 3 stars, 41 3 stars, 8 2 stars, and 4 1 star. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. Sorry for sitting so close. But anyway, what I was going to show you is opinion after opinion after opinion about this book. But what I found really interesting, and this is about time for me to wrap up this video, is when I look up this book and I don't look at Goodreads, I don't look at consumers like myself, I look at other opinions, I find something very, very interesting. I find that her book has been sponsored or acknowledged by the New York Times, USA Today, CNN, Inside Edition, Health News. I'm not sure what WWD is, but yeah, 10 years of clinical research has gone into this book, and I have been able to benefit from it. So that'll be it on this video. What I will do is at least once a month have a video based on a nonfiction book with something that I deal with. Since this book, Dealing with Feeling, the subtitle is Use Your Emotions to Create the Life You Want. That's what got me interested in this book. So just like the Ozempic revolution got me interested because I had just been put on the medication, I can very easily go to NetGalley, go to wellness or nonfiction or self-help and find books that I can read and I can review and bring you some nonfiction content on this channel. I hope this video has done well for you. I have to say that I was spurred on to make this video because of something that I ran into today, in case anybody that's watching this knows what I'm talking about. But because of what I ran into today, it kind of made me want to make this video. But I wasn't just making a video to make a video. I have read this book. I have reviewed this book. I have hundreds of views on this book on my blog. But now I can talk to you about it on this channel because it has been close to a year. Like I said, I'm within 10 pounds of my goal weight. And once I reach that, we'll go from there. But that's it. I want to thank you for watching, and I will see you with my next video.